welcome. Over the Top Podcast. It's your boy HD of the Over the Top Podcast crew. Hey guys, let me get started. But again, I just want to give you guys thank you for supporting the Over the Top Podcast. We're making big moves, we're doing big things, and it's all because of you guys sponsoring us and showing us love and listening to the content and liking the content. So continue to do that. Continue to listen to us on WDJY 99.1 FM. Also, our Facebook page, Over the Top Podcast Facebook, which is a private group, but jump on, become a member. We got some good clips and stuff in there. We also got our Facebook page coming. And also our YouTube page, which have all our older shows and all the material on there also. So again, thank you for supporting us. We do not take it lightly. We definitely want you to continue to support us. So that gets started. Who we got going on here? Playmaker, what's going on, sir?
Hey man, I'm doing well. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, sir. Fantastic. We got the Playmaker. We also got Q. What's going on, Q?
Um, I did a stitch to the Ass Toy on TikTok, and I'm once we get there, I'll read some of my comments on that one.
Good stuff. And night, guys. We also got RJ. What's going on, RJ?
How you doing?
I am incredible, sir. And we also have a special guest with us today. We got Cinnamon. Hi, Cinnamon. How are you?
Hello, everybody. How are you?
I am incredible. Special guest with us tonight. We're going to go over the topics. One of our main topics tonight is working with family with special need kids. And Ron and Cinnamon has their young gentleman with special need. And thank you for coming on and starting this series with us. We're going to do a couple of series of this, guys, because again, there's a lot of good information what's going on with working with children and adults with special needs and stuff. So I think it's good information come out. So I do thank you, Ron, and thank you, Cinnamon, for coming on. You guys gonna be a little bit of the focus of tonight's show. Toya couldn't be with us tonight, but guess what, guys? She always leave us homework. So she always leave us stuff for I ask Toya. And let me go ahead and say this now about I Ask Toya. Ask Toya has been a major hit, guys. Thank you. Continue to send them in. We're busting out the seams on them, but we definitely continue to. We want you to continue to send them in, and where you can send them to before we get started. To get this out the way, you can send them to asktoya74@gmail.com. Also send it to Toya L on TikTok. Please keep them coming. They're interesting. They're good for the show, and we kind of enjoy them sometimes. So, not further ado, we do have an Ask Toya. Nesbitt, what's on deck on the Ask Toya, sir?
All right. Dear Toya, I came across this video on TikTok.
So if you're still active on the app formerly known as Twitter, then I'm sure you have seen this video. It's literally just a video of them going down a line of black men in suits, and the caption is black man in positive image. And when anyone is giving them pushback or asking about this picture, they're just saying we're being negative. But I just have a few questions. How many of these men are husbands or significant others? How many of these men are active fathers in their children's lives? If there is child support to be paid, is it current? Are these men active partners in their relationships? How are they positively influencing their local community? Are they holding men around them accountable who do not do the things that I just said? Because it's not enough for you to be the type of man that lives up to the societal image of what a positive black man is. But if you entertain men who are not that way, you're just as big of a problem, especially if you don't call them out. I guess I just don't understand why black men knowing what Burlington Coat Factory is means it's a positive image. But okay, all right.
Why is it that black women always belittle black men when they seem to just be doing something to promote brotherhood and excellence in our community? When it comes to black girl magic or black women's excellence, you don't see us asking these type of questions. And don't get me wrong, it's not all black women, it's just a few. But the ones who get the most social media attention seems to follow. What are we like? Why are we like this toward one another? I want the opinion of the show. Keep doing it for the culture. I really enjoy the show. A loving black man.
Q, what you think? What's your thoughts, sir?
Like I said, I did a stitch to this video on TikTok. TikTok slash Q Dog King or King Sarcasm. I don't know what it's under anymore. But I basically chalked this video up to the woman who's did the video, and other people about on what the app formerly known as Twitter. People are bored. For you to come to this video, see this video, and come up with so many conclusions, and make so many narratives, and make so many different. People are bored, and people are jealous, or just some people just don't like seeing anything positive, or they don't think anything can be positive.
Okay.
One person. Wow, I had a lot of comments on this. Never mind. I'm not going to go through all those comments. Went back for someone in the comment section because she was saying you can look positive and be in a t-shirt and jeans. I'm like, yes, but that's not what the argument was here. The video says black men in suits and a positive image. No need to do a whole deep dive on it. I don't think we should be doing a whole story on it because it's not that deep. It's a black men in suits. That's it.
Okay. Ron, we talked earlier. You got a little, you got a little irate about this subject. What's your thoughts on the edge story? Yeah, that maybe we can. What's your thoughts?
It reminded me of something. It's gonna be a little bit off topic and it's gonna be wild. But you remember the Little Rascals and they had the He-Man Women Hater Club?
Yeah.
We have the She Women Man Hater Club.
Okay.
She was coming from a real interested space in relationship to seeing men dressed in suits. One of the things that was really beautiful about the 40s, 50s, and the 60s is that men got dressed up routinely on a consistent basis and represented their community in their best garb. Like we talked today, my father would wear slacks to school because that was the dress of the day. He went to public school, but the thought process was to put forth a positive image. To hear this young lady say that and speak to that, to me, reflects on, and I'm making emphasis, but reflects on how she feels about people that have been present in her life. To me, you should not speak negatively of men that you don't know. And there's a reason that those men are there and they're gathered to do something positive. I respect their sacrifice of their time and their effort to come out and present a positive image.
Okay, good, valid points. I know, Cinema, you a guest, but we're gonna throw you right in the fire. What's your thoughts on the edge story?
My first thought was, I don't listen to anyone with a bonnet.
Oh,
I really just had a problem off the bat, so I kind of blanked
Hot in the
out. But
kettle?
Ron was like, watch it again and give me some feedback. I just found it to be very, just condescending for no real reason. It's nothing like seeing brothers in a suit, nice and pulled together. It wasn't that deep for her to try to break down and insult them. Are they paying child support? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? It was just a picture of beautiful brothers in colorful suits. So, but I think she was just being nasty. And it was like Ron said, it's a lot more of a personal something going on with herself that she had to share with the world. But I don't believe everything needs to be shared.
Gotcha. Good point. Playmaker.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. At first, I was a little bit surprised because the comments that she made is just not the comments that I feel are true about Black men. It kind of reminded me of the news that used to run before social media was popular, how they would kind of show a certain segment of people a certain way. And it seems like she was kind of buying into, some of those stereotypes about our community and she used them in a global scale. And I think if that does exist, it may only be small pockets. So I thought it was not necessarily newsworthy, but as we see on social media, those things that are the wildest kind of sticks out and gains the most traction. So kind of agree with Cube. Not sure why this was something that that was of interest to the man who posted. I think you just got to keep in mind that you got to look at the sources of where your information come from, and some people are just trying to do things for attention. I don't think she's speaking of all Black women, maybe just a subset of Black women, and she may just be talking from a place of hurt and maybe just the men that she has had that's been in her circle. So
Interesting comments. When I looked at it, and I looked at her comments. I listened to it a couple of times, then I watched it again. It almost seemed like that. The way she was coming from is never enough. Okay, yeah, you in suits, but what? Well, that's a lot because when you try to break down these walls of stereotypes, especially with young men wearing their pants below their butt area, then you see men in suits. So you would think that with even something as small that may trigger a young man to learn how to wear suits or anything like that. So I don't like the area that she was I guess why I don't like with her comments was where's this coming from? And I'm asked the panel, and I know Playmaker alluded to small pockets, but I'm going with you. Or do you think there's only a small pockets? And Cinema, if you want to answer, do you think there's a queen? There's small pockets? Do a majority of people think this way?
And processing it through that filter, I think that was just a personal response as to how she feels. One of the things that's been a pretty interesting aspect of it is though, a friend of mine's Haywood Cloud, I'm gonna shout him out on the show. Haywood always says, Ron, everybody doesn't need a platform. And she is one of those that does not need a platform. And it hurt my feelings to hear her say that and expound on those men because the thought process was there. The actions were there. You calling something negative out of something that is pretty much positive. You don't even really reflectively see anything negative that you can lean towards, but you found a way to make it negative. So that's a reflection of how you feel about yourself. One of the things that I find about people tend to project. They project their emotions, they project their sicknesses, their illnesses, they project their insecurities onto you. And so that's something reflectively, like when she's speaking all those things onto those men, she's speaking about herself.
Interesting. So anybody else thoughts? Q? Because I mean, the reason I'm a harper a little bit. I'm just trying to figure out. So you're saying it's not the norm. So you don't think it's a crab in a bucket scenario. Whereas every time you see somebody try to do something, they try to pull you back, or am I reaching too much? What your thoughts, Playmaker?
It's oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ron. Go ahead, Ron.
It's not a crab in a bucket. It's a mentality that we've adopted over the last maybe about 35 or 40 years. It's the advent of feminism. It's the program that we've received from various different people who have infiltrated our communities. And the thought process is to look at each other in a negative perspective instead of the positive. One of the things I said to y'all, like earlier during the year when we was in our first or second season, we were talking about it's hard to kill a brother. It's easy to kill an N-word.
Mm-hmm.
And in all true honesty, in the 60s and the 70s, we always called each other brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
We always acknowledged aspects of the divine and the blessed part of who we were as people. Where did that go? Why did it leave? Amazingly, it left in the 90s when hip hop flipped. And then all that poison started to pour out, and those kids started to ingest it, as well as certain aspects of things like latchkey kids, things of that nature, trickled into that circumstance, and there you have it.
Okay.
That's just my opinion of the matter.
Good stuff. Playmaker, your thoughts. Then we'll wrap it up.
I think that it'd be very interesting to know her background. Everybody has a story, and for her, in her defense, that may be all of the men that she's come around, all of the men that she has experienced could have been very negative toward her. So that's why she has that kind of opinion. And if that's the case, it's very unfortunate that she has been in that kind of a circle that she doesn't have any positive black male experiences in her life. But that is possible, and if that is the case, then I just hope that someone shows her some love, and that she'll change her thoughts about what she posted and how she feels.
Good stuff, guys. And Queen, everything. Okay, cool. Nothing else. That's cool. Hey, good stuff, guys. Hey, we just continue to uplift each other. We're gonna continue to push forward. Although we do got negativity, we'll push that to the side. But hey, good as told you. But we're gonna keep it pushing, keep it pushing. Topic night. So let's jump into it. Raising children with special needs, and the impact that it has on the family. Um, let's start out a little different. I want because this is something that Ron has shared that he be passionate about. Give us a little overview, Ron. What we're looking to accomplish here. Give me an overview of what you're looking to do at this point.
Aspects of things that have happened. I'm gonna start off. I had a brief conversation with a friend of mine, and he actually happens to work in a professional setting, and he serves our family. And in that conversation I had with him, it was really touching the fact that he was willing to open up and acknowledge that he was dealing with a child with special needs. My wife has also had a friend of hers come to us that's a part of her church family and admits that their family is having a child with special needs and wanted to kind of pick our brains. So I felt it pertinent to put some information out into this space. I wanted to touch on this one particular fact, and I'm gonna turn it over to Hank. There's a secret that takes place in some families. That secret is that there's something different about my cousin, brother, or sister's child. That difference is that that child may have special needs, or they may not be typical. What we tend to run into is that aspects of that is hidden away, and we need to acknowledge that, and then we need to seek help and get support. So,
Okay. So here go a little bit of facts, guys. There are 11.2 million children with special needs, special healthcare needs in the United States, or there's one out of five households caring for a special needs child. A small group of children who needs continuous medical nursing therapeutic services that are enabling them to survive is growing in numbers. This study is examining physical health, physical functioning, mental health, emotional and social and cognitive functioning, communication and worries, family functions, daily activities, and family relationships, and care burdens of the caregiver and employment and caregiving times, travel times, health related out of pocket expenditures of parents of medically complex and medical technology dependent children. Data was collected once a month for 5 months on the 84 parents recruited in South Florida using the using a pediatric quality of life family impact model. Physically, parents was tired when they woke up, too tired to do anything they like to do, and with little energy for chores or social activities. Mentally, they was frustrated, anxious, and angry, felt hopeless, felt helpless and hopeless, had cognitive problems. Remembering and focusing on the tasks were worries about the child medication, treatment, side effects, and some was even anxious about the child's future and effects of the child condition on other family members. Socially, they felt isolated and the people did not understand their family situation. They found it hard to talk to others, including physicians and nurses. Average weekly hours of direct care was about 33 hours, which is SD equals about 32.4 hours. The average monthly out of pocket expenditures went up from $348 and 74 cents to $623.34. It's essential to assess the parent's physical and mental health and functioning to provide interventions to improve health and functioning for both the parent and the child for whom they're caring. Okay, so that jump on in it, and Ron, I'm gonna come in with you with this one. What is it actually like to raise a child with special needs?
Um, it's uh, it's confounding when we happened to be at home and family was visiting, and my aunt spoke to me in the midst of her visit and said she felt like Sam should be speaking. Sam initially was very much advanced. He was running, he was cutting on a dime, he was very expressive. He always had his language. He was doing all these different things. And about, what, say 18 months, he just completely stopped. We couldn't get him to make eye contact. He wouldn't look at us. And what effectively happened was it was it's like at a point in time somewhat of a death, because there's aspects of things that you don't necessarily know that your child is ever going to do. When we finally went through the process at about 2.5, 3 years old of having him assessed, when we had him assessed, they essentially told us that he may not talk, he may not toilet, he may not use the bathroom. There's a number of different things that we were told that he would never do. Yet and still we believed. My wife went to work and I prayed. And over a period of time, he's gotten significantly better. And we had programs and services in the community. But I remember reflecting upon one thing. When my godson was getting ready to be born, they told my friend that he was going to be born potentially with Down syndrome. And I never thought that that would be a circumstance or situation that I would be facing where I have a child with special needs. The emotional impact, the fear that you have, the struggle to really come to grips with it is something that's really deep. And also the pressure it places on your marriage and your relationship is significant. And so to encapsulate it in one word is it was a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of heavy lifting,
Okay.
a lot of heavy lifting. And I just wanted to put this together for us to really have a dialogue about it, because I think it's a lot of parents out there suffering in silence.
Yes, yeah. Cinnamon, what's your thoughts? I mean, what's your view? What's your experience of raising a child with special needs?
Um, I can say ditto to a lot of what Ron said. It was confounding. It was a situation where I remember some of the tough times, but I try to remember all the victories. Like he
Mm-hmm.
said, Sam went silent on us around 18 months. And I was pregnant with our second child. I was about 4 or 5 months pregnant with Jay when he stopped talking. So it was a little bit dismissive by the doctors because they were like, oh, he's just regressing because the new baby's coming. So it's like, no, this isn't regular regression. It was our first child, but I've been around children a long time. I was like, no, it's more. So we really start asking questions. And even some of the questions and answers were leading to autism. But even
Mm-hmm.
then, I was kind of like, no, it's not autism. He just, just trying to find something else.
Right.
Um, just out of the fear of having that title of autism. It's been 15 years ago, but 15 years ago, the resources were around, but they were far and in between. I mean, we really had to um, search. Like he said, I went to work, he went to praying. He literally gave us set up the family so that he just worked, and I stayed home with him for 2 or 3 years and just
Mm-hmm.
focus on the little therapies and stuff just to give Sam a heads up. Um, so again, that stress alone, because he bared all the financial of it, and then I kind of felt like I was bearing all the other stuff. In all actuality, he was dealing with some of that too, but he didn't know. It wasn't the
Right.
communication that we were really. So I'm thinking I'm on my island trying to be super mom. He's on that island trying to be the provider of all. And again, it was a blessing of a time because we never went without. We always had everything we needed,
Mm-hmm.
but it still was a very lonely time. It was a very secluded time because I never had family and friends that like disconnected. But I think I withdrew myself, as he
Right.
probably will go into more detail a little bit later. I kind of withdrew and just
Okay.
focused on how I can do things for him. And then I had the added stress of having this new baby, and I didn't want her to feel like she was lacking.
Right.
So it was a really hard time.
Right. And for the record, Sam is an amazing young man, guys. I'm start salute myself. Maybe and another day we all get to meet that young. Well, somebody else get to meet. I met him. He's a good young man. Good young man. So you
Yeah, if you
guys
ever
did a
bring him on the show,
wonderful
it's gonna
job.
need an extra hour just for him because he's gonna talk to you. You make him
Good young
proper
man.
conversationalist. Sam is gonna. Sam will talk to you. Sam will talk to you.
Well, if the apple don't fall far from the tree, as
Not
they
at all.
say.
Not with that one. Not with that one.
All right, Playman, I'm going with you with this one. What do you feel is the economic impact that this have on a family? What's your thoughts on
Some good stuff that was just shared with Ron and Cinnamon. One of the things that I saw when I was kind of just doing some research and trying to get a better understanding is that, well, it says that the cost to raise a child to the age of 17 is $233,610. When you add disabilities or special needs, that cost can go up to 1.4 or even $2.4 million. So when you look at that type of expense, I mean that can put a lot of pressure on the family unit, and just to try to just make sure you can navigate it through it financially. So I think it's a heavy burden. I think now they have better support than they may have
Mhm.
had back in the day, but it's still a financial burden that the family must bear.
that? Good stuff.
Do I
Good stuff.
call you playmaker? Do I? That's what. Do I? Is it Mr. Playmaker? What is it?
uh, Playmaker, G, Gary, all of it's
Okay. Okay,
Everybody
what's
Mr.
want to have an
G. But
alias.
one thing, Mr. G, that you point out that I am thankful that our new families don't have to deal with. Back in the day, some of the therapies that were offered for Sam was out of pocket. Insurances didn't pay for none of that stuff.
Oh
For
wow.
ABA therapy, for certain amount of speech therapy, for it didn't pay for it. So certain things had to come out of your pocket. We used to call autism the rich man diagnosis because I would go and be with some of my peers. Their husbands might be doctors and lawyers, and they're doing a $300 a week gluten-free diet and all these other great things to try to help their children. And I'm looking at Rod like, we ain't struggling, but we, we ain't doing that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it was definitely it's a blessing now to see some of my students and some of my peers and what they have access to, because we didn't have it just 15 years ago. Most insurance just start paying for ABA, applied behavior analysis therapy. They just start paying for that about 4 years ago, three or
Oh
four
wow.
years ago.
Oh wow.
So before that, when we would do a session, we would get one or two sessions through a support group, but it'd be one session every month. That was like $275 for one session. So
Mm.
they would send someone out and they would teach me all these little skills and stuff. And then I would have to apply it for the next month. And then they would come out and teach me again so that I can apply it again for another month.
And you know what was really interesting? That was really crazy. They used to sit down and they would ask when my wife would go to some of these meetings and these gatherings, they would ask her, "What does your husband do?" To
mm,
try to identify, yeah, to try to identify how she
How
was
much
able to
money?
not, yeah, how she was able to not be at work and be finding out or figuring out aspects of things that was going on to facilitate that. Because one of the things that was really key in supporting Sam and really getting him into position happened as a result of my wife going and hearing about school choice. And
Mm-hmm.
when she heard about school choice, that flipped the script, and they had to honor that based upon my son's IAP and 3-year-old pre-K and all that other stuff. But that's a whole other story. We'll
Yeah.
probably elaborate on that later.
Yeah, autism was
Right.
definitely one of those diagnoses where we were one of the only Black families in a lot of
Oh
circles.
wow. Oh
And so
wow.
that, I remember when I got my Durango. I mean, it was new to me, but it wasn't brand new. I'm telling you, I pulled up to the playground, and those women was like, well, her husband looked like he was a drug dealer or something. I don't know, but it was. We
Them
had some funny
stereotypes are
times, but it was
hilarious.
yeah, we were a lot. We were the only Black family in a lot of circles, and when we did meet a couple of families, it was a blessing to be able to share and you know
Right.
work together.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Playmaker.
I just have a question because you said that there were not a lot of Black families when you were going to these different meetings. Does that mean that those Black families just was? I mean, what do you think was happening with those other Black families that did not have the type of dynamic that you all had to provide the proper support or the support that you provided to your son?
Twofold. Ron was working crazy and allowed me to stay home, so I was going to things that were held during the day. Mommy play groups at 9 o'clock in the morning, this, that, and the other, where parents had to work. If you're a two-family household, a two-parent household, that mother had to work. So that mother was maybe, didn't have the options that I had. So that was one thing that I was able to really immerse myself. He literally said, "You do him and let me do the house." So I just immersed myself wherever I can get into. And two, I think that you start looking at our education system and things that our children need. Sometimes our families were intimidated by the education system that we were dealing with. And I say that as, when you have an IEP or you go and you sit down and you say you want to do this for your child, you're sitting at the table and you have all these people on the other side of the table saying, yeah, you're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And you kind of get kind of shaky because you're like, well, they're the professionals and maybe they're right and I should do what that ain't fly with us. you know,
Right.
um, it was a great combination. We work well together because he's a very level-headed, calm guy. But we played good cop, bad cop. I was a bad cop. I'll go in there and be like, oh no, you know what we not gonna do, right?
Right.
And then he'll come behind me, excuse my wife. We you know, he would really and he would really be able to pull it all together. He could talk to people a lot better than I could at times because I was speaking out of a lot of emotion. I was
Right.
fighting for my son, but he was in a level-headed spot where he could hear my emotion, but he can read the room and try to pull us together. So it was a team effort in that way. And I feel like some of my families just didn't have maybe not have that team effort. They didn't have the access to what we had access to when it comes to me being immersed in it. I got to a point where people was calling me, other mothers and stuff, and saying, well, Simon, come to the IEP meeting with me. What are you doing different? Let's do this. I took a job with Guilford County Schools. I went into an autism classroom so that I can say, okay, this is what a classroom look like. Okay, this is what I want my son to have.
And
Right.
also, she did a program called Partners in Policy,
Yep.
where one week in a month she would be gone. So I had both of the kids by myself
Ah.
for that weekend, right?
But the weekend, what was I learning?
She was learning how to read IEPs. She was learning how to advocate for families. She was learning how to really support families in a different way. So that's how she ended up getting called in for some families. And what it did was facilitate dialogue and communication. And some people really actively got blessed as a result of that, as well as our child.
Good stuff. The squeaker, like I always say, the squeaky wheel will get the oil. I say that plenty of times, buddy. Plenty of times. Q,
Because
I'm coming with you with this.
Gary was saying
I'm sorry,
something.
Gary. What's that, Gary? I'm gonna go. Q, what's that, Gary?
I think that's very interesting because it seems like if you don't have the right advocate or someone advocating for your child, that the system may fail you.
That's it. You said everything I said in one sentence. You have to advocate. And that was that class that we went to in Raleigh. It taught me about advocacy as a parent, as a caregiver, and how to instill advocacy in him. So as he ages, how he can speak for himself. Because he's at that age now, he's 19, and he has to learn how to, navigate this world. And everything is not going to be set up for him as a child or a young man with autism. So he has to be able to speak for himself, make the right choices, this, that, and the other. So I think that's a component that our families didn't have. They didn't know that they can advocate for themselves, or they just didn't have the right ability. Because the one thing about, and I'm gonna say this is a little bit off, but being a woman of color that love their children and very passionate about their education, I always was called like I had an attitude or I was angry. I was the angry Black woman because I was passionate about what my children were learning. But I can go to the same school and Miss Karen can come in, have the same energy, but she just love her children. She just
That's
wants
right.
the best for her children, and da 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 da. You know what I mean? But I was always the mad, angry Black
You
woman.
got an angry Black woman because you were advocating and raising your
Right.
voice.
So,
Yeah,
I know some families, and I know some mothers that didn't want that attitude, didn't want that image of them. So they would try to be like, yeah, well, if that's what you feel is best. I'm like, but that's not best.
the squeaky
What's
wheel
best
gets
for
the
your
oil.
baby? Right.
And
So,
a real quick narrative. There was a circumstance where we sat down at the end of the year, and at the end of the year you have an IEP meeting at the beginning of the year for the child, what the child needs at the end of the year for what the child needs. Sam was 3 years old. 3-year-old PK. He had no little to no language, and he still had a situation where at points in times, man, my baby would bite, and it was a struggle, right?
he can read though.
Well, yeah, he did some things, but what ended up happening was he started to make significant progress with the group of children that he was with. The thought process was that he would go into that classroom, and this is how we found out about school choice. He would go into a classroom, and he would be in a classroom with kids that were peers that were right around the same level of learning as him. School year starts, Sam starts making major progress. We start seeing things like improve, like things where it was like a light came on. And then all of a sudden that same light shut down. And I go to school, I was dropping them off because I was blessed to have a job where I didn't have to be at work immediately early in the morning. So I was dropping them off at school. So I would drop them off at school and either go to work or I would do whatever I had to do that day. And so I go and take him to school, and the lady says, "Mr. Johnson, please stay." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" She said, "Mr. Johnson, please stay." And I see my son is dealing with echolale, which is a term that is directly correlated with him mimicking behaviors that other child is displaying, or noises. I see him putting his hands over his eyes where he hadn't done that in months. I seen him doing things that were just not typical, and all of that came from being in a classroom where he was not represented based upon what we had agreed upon in our IEP. When that situation happened, I saw that. I left there in tears. And if I'm swole, it's
I'm gonna be swole.
yeah. And I called my wife. We went right to the director's office that day, and they got my son out of that classroom and moved him. But that was advocacy. And we could have essentially sued them because that was a misrepresentation of what it was the IEP stood for. But we did not do that. We were gracious. But we did hold their feet to the fire thereafter and made sure that they did what they said they were supposed to do. And that's the power of advocacy. In your children, typical functioning or not, we have to advocate in the educational system for our babies. Yes, sir.
Hey, Mick, I see you, but I'm gonna get Quentin in there because I mean we going. I'm gonna get him. Get him. He just sitting there chilling on us, waiting patiently. But Quentin, I'm cover you the question. Do you think parents? So I'm adjust the question a little bit, but it's the same question. Do I mean if I listen to Settlement and you saying how certain parents don't want to feel like they're becoming a nuisance or they become the angry Black parents or yelling and fussing? Do you think family members tend to hide the fact that their loved ones having special needs or they're different? What's your thoughts?
Okay, my first thought is you gotta bear with me because this internet can go out at any moment. I've been jumping in and out. They do hide it, because they, and a lot of Black families, especially the older generation to now, know and see how some of their family members treat other people who have disabilities. They know it and see that, and they do not want their child or their family member to go through that. They also see how society treats them, and they don't want them to see that. They don't want them to experience that. But yeah, the main thing will be the first one is they know how some of their family members and friends treat people with disabilities. They know it's wrong, but they don't speak up. And a lot of them don't know what that's like until they get someone in their family who has that disability or that illness or whatever they have. And to that point, some just don't know how to deal with it or know how to express it.
Okay. Okay. Playman, I'm coming at you. I know you had your hand up earlier. Express your thought you had, or did you lose your thought? I mean, you lose your thought, but
No, I just I heard the term IAP, I believe, and I was just if I didn't know what it meant, some of our listeners may not know what it stands for, what it means. So I was just going to ask what that word what that meant.
Yeah, I'm sorry for not speaking on it. IEP means individual educational, and that's what's set in place for children who have disabilities, from ADHD to emotionally disturbed to autism to Downs, all different types of children. You can even get what they call considered to be a 504 plan if you have a problem with focusing. All these things are meant to support children's learning and to enhance their ability to be successful in the world. The thought process is to give them the opportunity to to integrate into society. That's what the
okay.
IEP is for.
Good
Thank you
stuff. Good
for
stuff.
bringing that up, Gary. I appreciate that.
Good stuff. Senator, I'm gonna come up with you. So what are I mean, and I think after you guys kind of answer it, I'm trying to restructure it to kind of keep the conversation
I'm
flowing.
sorry.
And so you guys kind of no, you totally fine. So so we talk a little bit about the advocacy part. I know we got about 50. So and for the people know this is gonna be a a 2 or 3 part series. So we probably get through everything tonight. But I do want to ask this. What are some of the other challenges do you have? I know you guys have some more children outside of Sam. What are some of the other challenges you have, as a family unit with dealing with a young man with special needs?
I think the one that's the most heartbreaking is the effect of these type of diagnoses on marriages. When you look at the numbers, the divorce rate is extremely high for families that have children with, additional needs. Not just autism, but severe medical needs, whatever it may be. Um, so I think that's one of the hardest things that I think that I've seen for us and for my peers, that they struggle with is, having time for you as a couple, communicating as a couple. Um, Ron is actually diagnosed with ADHD. I'm like, well, maybe it was him and his ADHD. It was a
So it's the
time period.
blame it. So you blaming each
Oh
other
yeah,
for.
you go through the blame game. You do, especially at the beginning. You wondering what went wrong. He touched on the grief part of autism or the grief part of the diagnosis. Families literally go through a grieving process when they get a diagnosis like this. You have to grieve the life you thought you were going to have. Now, Sam is a great physical specimen. He's 6'3". His arms like touch his knees. I just knew me and my husband was breathing. We were about to have a star football player. I'm like, we're about to have us a star running back or something. That dude don't like no. I'm sorry. That dude doesn't like anything regarding sports. You know. So I had to early in my life recognize everything I thought I was having with this little boy, the football games, the tailgating, all that stuff, all that had to die for me. I had to develop a new plan, a new vision, and supporting on what his vision is. He has interesting ideas, what he wants to do, and I had to learn to support him and not my own dream of what I thought he was going to do.
One of the deeper situations we had happen, man, and it was really profound.
The
It was
basketball game?
it was two.
Which one? Listen.
It was two. Basketball game my son was in. He understands things and he breaks down systems, and he knew that he was losing. They didn't even really keep score, but they was getting crushed
by this girl too.
Yeah. So my wife sees Sam melting down on the sideline because they're getting crushed, and she starts crying. And my parents are there too. And at that point in time, I'm sitting here processing it through an emotional lens of like, I can deal with Sam having a problem, but I think one of the things that was really deep about this that was larger too was that when he was playing flag football, I saw this. He didn't see it. So it was heartbreaking for me being a really good athlete playing in college, should have been a D1 player, to see my son not be able to master aspects of those things and to not want to do it. And it broke my heart. So when she melted down, I was like, man, I can't do this. Now, I didn't cry, but I was like, I can't do this every week or every time he has something that he's dealing with. The next one, dang, I forgot what the next one was. But we had a number of situations that said, oh, we went to see my godson's football game in outside of Raleigh.
Oh, Holly Springs.
Holly Springs. Okay. And my wife is at the game and she starts crying. And when she starts crying, it did something to me because it wasn't anything that I could do. And all she was thinking was, I've lost this. We'll never have this opportunity. This will never happen. And maybe 2-3 years later, here comes RJ. So that kind of helped out. But aspects of those things, man, are issues that parents deal with. It's and then also my wife was not her. She was not herself. One of the things that we talked about in mental health is that trauma changes the brain. So we must understand aspects of what took place in that situation. We both were placed under extreme amount of stress, and it impacted us.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Quinn, I'm gonna come with you with this. I'm we last stuff we went over, but so I'm kind of ad-lib a little bit, but that's fine. We gonna make it through. What are some of the ways? I know you're going into education and teaching. So as a future educator, what are some of the ways you feel that you can have an impact on not just the child with disabilities, but maybe connected with the parents with disabilities that may be in your classroom? What are some of the ways you think you can impact that?
Treating them like they're a normal child. I mean, giving them the special treatment that they need, like, because that's, you have to do that. But also not treating them like they're any different, because they're still a child at the end of the day. Their mind just kind of works different. But treating a child like a child is the biggest thing they teach. And yeah, catering to them, catering to their needs, and all that. Yeah, I remember they were a child still, and they just think different.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, Ron and Sam, I'm going to go with both of y'all. Then make it quick. We got a couple minutes left. But what are some of the positive? I mean, if there is any positive things to take away, I know you love Sam, and Sam is an amazing guy. But what are some of the positive things that you can take away from going through such an experience? I know we kind of dressed in the pain and the anger, but what are some of the, if there's any, what's some of the positives we can take away from that?
Can I say something first? Okay. First, I appreciate what Q said. When we dealing with our children, we dealing with children anyway. You build on their positives. You build on their strengths. So, disabilities, typical development. You build on the child's strength. You're you're gonna see great fruit. So I appreciate that, Q. And that's one thing I did learn over these years working with Guilford County Schools. We look at our strengths. And with Sam, he had a lot of strengths early. Like he was reading at 3 or 4. He's still a genius when it comes to maps and stuff like that. We call him Map Plus. Like he just has some strong strengths that we always was told early to feed into. So that's what was a great thing. A positive on this case, I think the positives now for us is this time of our lives where we can help others. We went through such hard things. There's things that we know that we wouldn't want other people to go through. So one of the positives of all this right now is being able to know that people can look, and there's teachers, there's people out there that be like, have you ever met Cinnamon and Ron? Have you met the Johnsons? Have you, that type of stuff. You need to give them a call. Her number ain't changed in 15 years. Call her. She'll help you. Like, to know that people know that our heart is for the families and these other children and that they can call us now, that's a great positive. I think also a positive was I don't think I would have been able to spend as much time with my children if it wasn't this type of situation. Me and my children had great times. We would go to every park in the city. We would sit and ride pictures. Poor guy be at work. We had the buck pod, look at us. So it allowed me to spend time with my children that I probably wouldn't have done if, it was a typical situation where we felt comfortable just taking them to daycare somewhere, you know? So I got a lot of great memories with my children because I got to spend so much time with them. So it was a positive for me in that aspect.
I think one of the positives for me is the level of empathy that you see the siblings have for their sibling that's affected. My daughter, who was really smart and intelligent, grasped at an early age that she may have to potentially help her brother. Mm-hmm. And to see her willingness to give to him in a way that's consistent and understand that might be something that she may have to do was really beautiful in the truest sense. Is she grasped it at about 4 or 5, at an early age.
Yeah. Wow.
And so when I think about those things,
she used to speak for him, remember?
Yeah, when I think about those things and aspects of what we've endured and the power of having a positive attitude, I've learned a lot. And one of the things that I used to always wonder when I was a kid, why was life so hard? And it was for times such as this that you would have to build towards dealing with adversity, because it's nothing like having your child affected, and it's nothing like having to lead when you don't even know the direction. You just going, and you're doing the best you can to build towards what the future is. And there's going to be some casualties, and there's going to be some friendships and relationships that are not there at the end. But at the same time, the people that are standing tall with you are the people that you need and know. We lost some people. We had relationships at a church that was really integral in us meeting, but at the same time was problematic for aspects of things that we dealt with. But man, God is good, man.
That's a whole show right there.
Yeah, God is good. That's all I'm gonna say. And I thank y'all for affording me the opportunity and the platform to speak on this, because I think it's going to be a blessing to some families and some people. There's a lot of people that are really not speaking about these things, and I'm happy. And I thank you for what he said as a future educator. You have to treat them just like they're typical kids. They need the opportunity to be the best that they can be. So, and we had some great teachers.
Oh, yes.
Lori Dietz was his facilitator, and she pressed Sam through. His principal, Miss Williams, she was absolutely awesome to us. She did some great things for us. So we had some really
Miss Sarah, all of them.
We had a lot of people that supported
us. And they're still around, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like they stay in contact. These are teachers. Right. He has a teacher from when he was 3 that drops me a note every now and then. How's he doing in class? What's going on here? Like, we really were blessed that when we prayed, God just put him only in the environments that's for him. We were always blessed with the right teachers in the right environment. We really were blessed in that way.
Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. The conversation will continue. This is only part one, and we will continue. Thank you guys for sharing. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you for being an advocate. We will continue this conversation and get information. Yeah, is there? Well, no. Hey, if you have any problems or concerns, I won't give out their personal number, but look for reach for help. The help is out there for you. So,
Yes.
hey, good stuff, good information. Playmaker, what's your last word?
Well, first I want to thank Ron and Cinnamon for showing transparency in their situation. I think that a lot of times people hide information, and I think that your testimony and the knowledge that you've shared about being advocates and all that will really help somebody who's listening. So I want to thank you for that. And my final word or thought is, don't be afraid to be a testimony to help people.
Quinn, your last word, Q.
My last word is something that happened last Thursday. It has nothing to do with the show. So, something happened last Thursday. I was gonna head to a party, which is why I wasn't on the sports show last Thursday.
Wow.
We get to the venue. The promoter forgot to book the venue. Didn't tell anybody. So there's people waiting in the parking lot of what's basically an empty building because he didn't tell anybody. The promoter didn't tell anybody that the party was canceled.
But
Kind
that
of ruined my
hardcore that
Thursday night.
when you set up a party, don't have the venue. Make
That's
it
a
quick,
janky
30
promoter.
seconds, last word, buddy.
I was going to say something about
You
this.
say me?
30 seconds, last word.
Oh man, thank y'all for the opportunity, man, and I hope people are blessed.
Good stuff. Hey guys, like always, thank you for sharing. We'll be back with you soon. Like always, guys, may your next move definitely be the game changer. Peace.
Yes.